Hi folks, Travis here with Destination Great Lakes. Let's take a look at Ubuntu. Well, more specifically, Xubuntu, Xubuntu, whatever. Alright, so here we are on my Mac desktop, and as you can see, I've got VirtualBox up, and today we're going to take a test drive of a Ubuntu-based distribution, specifically using the XFCE desktop. And the reason I chose this particular version is because I personally am not a fan of GNOME 3. I like the XFCE desktop, so being that I'm trying to give this distribution the best chance that I can of my liking it and it meeting my needs, I figured, why not go with a distribution that I'm more likely, or a desktop rather, that I'm more likely to enjoy. So we'll give this a name of Xubuntu 1910, which is what I'm going to install. I'm not going to install the LTS version, mainly because I want to make sure that this has the greatest chance of my liking it. And because I've got plenty of RAM and I want this to be a somewhat snappy setup, we'll give it 8 gigs of RAM. And because this is a test machine and I'm going to be loading up some of my common software, we'll give it 40 gig of hard drive space to work with. The nice thing is it's an expanding file system, so it's not going to turn around and use all 40 gig at one shot. We're going to go back into settings here, and this is all fine. Maybe if I find I like this, I may rebuild it using EUFI so I can see how that goes, but for now we'll leave it as it is. We're going to give it, I know I don't actually have 8 processors, I only have 4, but I find that giving it all of my threads tends to work just fine. Mac OS still works just fine, and all that's fine. We're going to go into display, enable 3D acceleration, hopefully, cross my fingers, that doesn't actually break. In my experience, it doesn't work very well, and if it doesn't, we'll turn it off. The reason I turned it on is in the hopes that I can maybe use it with some of the 3D software that I would work with. You know what, on second thought, let's go back and give it 6 threads. That way I leave a couple for OBS to work with while it's recording. Storage, we're going to come in here and we're going to choose a virtual disk, and we're going to add in the Xubuntu image. And you know what, as long as we're in here, can I get rid of these? No, I'll deal with that later. Oh, and then I go and pick the wrong one. There we go. Audio, we'll leave it as it is. Network, I'm going to tell it to use a bridged adapter, and I like to turn on USB 3 just in case I want to pass through something. Shared folders we can leave blank, and just to make things a little cleaner, we'll turn off those buttons on the bottom. So, let's fire this up and see what we think. So, we're presented with a try or an install. Being that this is a virtual machine, I'm going to go ahead and install it right away. English US, we're using a Macintosh keyboard. It doesn't make that big of a difference, but I'm going to select it anyways. And we'll download updates. We'll install third-party graphics and Wi-Fi hardware, mainly because that might allow the 3D rendering to work. We'll erase the disk. I don't need to encrypt it, it's just a virtual machine. Go from there. That's all fine. Now I live over here, so we're going to click that. And we'll give it a name. Super secret password. And we'll wait for it to install. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this part, and I'll be back when it's done. Alright, so the initial updates are being installed right now. The install itself took maybe 3 minutes. So we're gonna let it fast forward again, and I'll be back with you when it's done with the installation of the updates. Alright, so installing the updates definitely took longer than the rest of it. Installation is complete. You need to restart the computer in order to use the new installation. So let's do that and see what we get. The interesting part, the part I'm interested in, is whether or not I'm going to have to install the VirtualBox guest editions, or if Xubuntu did that for me. Ooh, that's not looking too promising. But we'll give it a chance. See if we can trigger it to resize on its own. Sometimes you gotta do that. No such luck. Alright, so we're gonna go in here and we are going to insert guest edition CD, and look what crashed. This isn't Ubuntu's fault, this is VirtualBox's fault. I've had this problem with VirtualBox for a while now. For some reason, when I go to insert a CD image, it crashes. But the good news is, now that I inserted it, it should be there this time. And if it doesn't give me the guest editions, I guess for evaluating whether or not, or at least giving my first impressions, I guess it doesn't need to be there. But we'll try it anyways. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I want the terminal emulator. And then I want to say sudo VBox Linux editions.run. Put in our super secret password. Kernel 5.3.0. Ooh, that's an old kernel, and unless I'm mistaken, that kernel is end of life. Yeah, 5.3 is, first of all, 5.3.18 is the current kernel, and 5.3. Whatever is end of life, so I know Canonical does. Hey, that was a nice surprise. It actually picked it up. I know Canonical does do a halfway decent job of backporting things to the kernel, so I'm not too worried about that. If this was going to be a full daily driver, I would definitely want to make sure that I'm running a more recent kernel. In fact, let's just for the fun of it, app search Linux. And let's see what kernels are out there. Oh, you're going to be that way. Alright, you know what? Let's use the package manager. Why not? Seeing as one of the things I said I don't like is the package manager. That's not what I wanted either. That glitching you're seeing is actually the 3D rendering. That's why I tend to turn it off. I don't know what it is, but the last couple versions of VirtualBox I've seen that. Alright, search kernel. Let's see what comes up. Live patch client, kernel scan. Nothing looking too promising there. Alright, I gotta restart this so I can disable the 3D rendering. I'll be right back. And I'm back. I disabled the 3D rendering, so now this will not be glitching out all over the place on us. But where did my mouse go? Uh-oh. That could be a problem. Okay, that fixed it. So let's see. We were looking in the Software Center. And And now I can just hear those of you out there that are Ubuntu users screaming at me saying, the kernel, you can update the kernel, you can update the... Yes, I get that. What I'm looking at right now is, as someone that hasn't used this distribution in a long time, how easy is it to find this sort of stuff? And so far, in this software center, I'm not finding anything. So it looks like I have to do some work. Let's see what else we have in here. Accessories, Catfish file search, file manager, XF burn, LibreOffice Math, a couple of games, GIMP. What version of GIMP are we running here? 12.10. Okay, so it's running a newer version of GIMP. That's good, because I use GIMP a lot for making our thumbnails. Internet, we got Firefox. Now I'm curious. Apt search Chrome. Can I get Google Chrome? Chromium. That's not what I want. Epiphany. So I can get Chromium, but I prefer the full-blown version of Chrome. So I can get that. Transmission, Thunderbird, Pigeon, no VLC by default, and then we have LibreOffice. What version do we have? Let's see what version we have here. 6.332, unless I am mistaken, that is actually, get my Mac dock out of the way here. I believe that is actually a newer version, which is somewhat surprising. But I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. This version's only 2 months old. Let's see which version. So we're a little out of date. We had 3.3.2, I think, installed, and the current version is 6.3.4 in the fresh, so that's all right, I guess. Let's see what version of Firefox. 69, I think that's a little out of date. I think. '71, so Firefox is out of date. Now keep in mind, I had this thing install all the updates when I did the installation, so this is as up to date as it gets, and we'll even verify that real quick. Sudo apt update, sudo apt dist upgrade. So we're going to do a full distribution upgrade instead of just a normal upgrade. '89 packages can be upgraded. Really? Well, let's see. What are we going to get here? We're going to get Firefox. Do not see what looks like a LibreOffice update. Linux firmware, so that might be a new kernel. So that's really interesting to me because I said that I wanted all the updates installed. So why wasn't that done? Alright, so while that was installing updates, I played around with the theming a little bit, and now we do have Firefox 71, which is good. I'm happy to see that. Let's see if there was an update to LibreOffice that I missed. .3, but 6.3 point what? Oh, come on. Still 6.3.3.2. Not horribly out of date. Wouldn't be a deal breaker. I also installed my favorite dock, plank. Ooh, that's ugly. Let's see what we can do to fix that. First of all, you belong on the left. And we're going to shrink you down and set you to zoom when I get near you. And I'm going to turn off IntelliHide because I'm not a fan. I want to show unpinned. I'll throw the trash docklet in there. And then I want to pin that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. What is that? Mouse pad? No, we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. We can add more stuff. And let's see. We'll leave it like that. Okay, so did a little tweaking. I like how it looks better this way. Oh, I see I have to tweak my display capture here a little bit. You guys can't see everything. Well, what do you say I fix that, huh? That looks better. Now you can see everything. Sorry about that. I thought you could see everything. I'll even slide my ugly mug out of the way here. Okay, so let's install some of the software I would need. Sudo apt install Kdenlive. Helps if I could spell. Inkscape. What else would I use? QGIS. We'll just throw those three in. Those are some big ones that I use. Alright, so that's done. While I was waiting, I looked to see what it would take to get some of my Google apps installed, and I'm going to have to download them all by hand, which is kind of anti what I want, because my whole goal is to be able to update everything from one spot, which you may recall from the video about why I want to use Linux. That's kind of my whole, one of my main draws to Linux is I want to be able to update the whole system. And if I've got to download individual dpacks and then install them, that tells me that updating isn't going to be a quick and easy solution. And let's see what version of Kdenlive we ended up with here, as well as what version of QGIS. Alright, so nope, that was about KDE, about Kdenlive. 1908, I think there's a newer version. Yeah, 19.12. So we're old there. And what version of QGIS did we get? 3.10. I think that's old too. .3.10 is the current version. We got 3.4. So this kind of highlights probably one of my bigger complaints about the Ubuntu-based distributions is they are not rolling releases. So whatever the current version of certain pieces of software was when that version was released is what you're stuck with until the next release. And then you've got to, there's upgrade paths, and sometimes it breaks things, and personally I'm not a fan of that. So the package manager itself I don't mind. It's the whole concept of being stuck with whatever this particular release had. I forgot, or almost forgot, to check the kernel version after the latest updates. So, oh look, I did it again. Click the right terminal emulator. So let's see what we ended up with that last update. Still 5.3.0-24 generic. So this is running an end-of-life kernel. One thing I would definitely have to look at is how do I get the right kernel in here, either by going back to the LTS kernel, the current LTS kernel, or moving forward to the 5.4. Can I do that? No. So I can't even just type Linux LTS and see what comes up. So something to think about and research, but that is for another day. So it's fast, it's nice, it's a good distribution, and I have no doubt it would be stable if I didn't start adding in additional repositories and packages in order to bring some of this stuff up to date. So we're going to shut this down for now. I'll probably play with it a little bit over the next couple of days, but my initial thought is that this is not the distribution for me, because it's not, I don't want to spend 3, 4, 5 days tweaking everything and getting all the current versions of the software that I want. So I guess that's where I'm going to leave this off with my exploration of Ubuntu. I'll play with it some more, but my initial thought is kind of like I suspected. It's not going to be the distribution for me. So leave a comment down below of any other distributions you think I should test. I think my next one is going to be Pop! OS, and then we'll go from there. Make sure you hit that like button if you liked the video. Hit the thumbs down if you thought I did a terrible job. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so that you can see when I test drive another distribution. And until then, we'll see you at our next destination. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.